evening, everybody. We are back to Big Man Campus, and we are live. College Football Week 12 preview. And I'm back with you, Jeff. They call me the Big Man on Campus. And I'm here with you live on a Thursday. Special time, special place, as always. We've been here every week of the way with you. And we're back for another week of college football after a crazy Week 11 in college football. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 9. All of them go down. Will it be quite the week this week? I don't believe so. But you never know. We're 1 week closer to bowl season, and that only means that, things are going to get hot and heavy for sure, and we're here to break it all down for you against the spread. I'm here. Ryan joining me live on Skype. He's not here, but he's on with us live. Ryan, my co-host, how you doing, buddy?
What's up?
Oh, always good, man.
How are you, man?
How about last week? What a week, man. What a week. Your boys from Michigan go down. Who else goes down? Washington goes down. The Clemson Tigers go down. Auburn goes down. What a week, man. It's hard to believe, but I'll tell you right now, Houston, I know it's early, but they are playing very well tonight. Early on here, about 10 minutes ago in the second quarter at home. Look, before we get into this week, obviously this game, Chance Allen, the receiver for Houston, mentioned this is their Super Bowl, man. They're really pumped up about this game. Obviously, it would have meant a lot more, a couple months ago, but we're seeing early on Houston playing really good football and kind of exploiting another high-end team. It's early, but looking good.
Yeah, the last 5-6 days have been just absolutely, bedlam, really. I mean, last Saturday, obviously my team, like you said, Michigan goes down, but just as a college football fan in general, last Saturday was one of the most, obviously from 8 to 11 I wasn't excited, but the entire day was one of the best days of watching college football I've watched in a long time. I watched that entire Pitt-Clemson game, which I thought was one of the better games I've seen start to finish in quite some time. Washington, USC, maybe Washington gets a little exposed a little bit. And to this game right here, Jeff, Louisville, a team that I've not really been kind of high on. I thought a lot of people have, whether it's with the playoff show or just betting, Louisville to me just, I don't know. And I saw Kirk Herbstreit tweeted yesterday after the rankings came out. I forget what book or what casino it was, but it said they would have been favored against every team in the country, I think, except for Ohio State and Alabama, which I find that hard to believe because I just don't think Louisville's anything special. And I think they're kind of proving that right now. They're lost right now, Jeff. they're lost. Yeah,
they really are. They can't get anything going on offense. You look at Ed Oliver's taking over the game basically on defense, and Houston's put out all the stops. And at the end of the day, Tom Herman's a good football coach. He's going to have his team prepared. This is a big game for them, and they're playing like it. Last week they kind of sleptwalked through Tulane, but I think they had their eye on this one. And early on here, they're playing well, so got to keep it going. But Ryan, let's jump into this week. Obviously, Week 12, you got a couple more weeks left, and you got some games that are starting to mean something here for certain teams, and we're going to jump into them all. Good week last week for us, Ryan. I went 2-0. You went 1-1. We hit the 3-1 on the week, so another pretty good week. And we'll mention we plan to have bowl shows, we plan to have all that stuff. You're not here today, Ryan, which I got to admit, Ryan, I miss you a little bit, but you'll be back Sunday. We'll go back to the NFL, continue our hot run there. We didn't have a show last week, but we will pop on this week and have another big show. But today, let's jump into the action. We got listener games. We got games that you and I will give out as our plays of the week. If you're out there, please feel free to chime in on the chat box. Feel free to ask us a question on Twitter. Ryan, before we do get into it, I have to ask, how's it been not being with me during the week?
Well, it has been a little vacation, I guess, if you will. It's always nice to just kind of get away. And I'm at my parents right now. They're on vacation, so I'm just house sitting for them. Obviously, they have 2 dogs, so I'm taking care of them and just watching the house for them. So it's been a little getaway. It's been nice. But as any vacation, of course, it'll always be nice to go home and
For
see your bright and smiling face.
For the people that don't know, if you're new out there, Ryan and I are best friends. We live together. But I know I do get on Ryan's nerves a little bit, so it's always good for him to go away. But let's jump into it, Ryan, here. I will say, though, Ryan, it was a good week for you to leave because I've been battling a cold all week, and I'm coming off it. So,
you still sound a little congested.
Oh, yeah, I am. I've been taking Mucinex, but what can you do? Ryan, let's jump into it. First game on the card here, recommended by our friend The Buzz over in Australia. He wants us to take a look at Temple minus 15 against Tulane over under 45. Ryan, if I asked you, who is the best team in the country against the spread, would you happen to know who it was?
Well, I know Temple has been killing it, and considering we're talking about this game, I'd have to say Temple.
They are the number one team in the country, 9-1 against the spread this year. So they've been getting the job done. And look, if you've been betting this Temple team, you've been cashing for a number of years, Ryan. They've covered 24 of 36 overall, and they're 4-0 ATS on the road this year. This Temple team has gotten the money, it seems like every week over the last couple of years. Matt Rule, I'm hoping he's betting these games. If he's not, he's not. He's still going to make money, but he can make a whole lot more. You look at Tulane. I mean, you look at them against the spread. 0-6 against conference opponents this year. They've lost 5 straight games. 4 of those have come by double digits. This Tulane team, Ryan, sucks. I mean, they stink. New coach, but it hasn't worked for them. Last year, I remember you and I bet this game. Temple won at 49-10 in Philadelphia. It's hard to jump into the freight train that Temple is right now. It's hard to jump in front of it. They've covered 6 straight in conference. They're scoring 34 points a game over the last 3 games, giving up just 14. They're off a bye week, Ryan. Before the bye week, they played UConn. They held them scoreless and gave up just 160 yards in that game. This defense is good. A lot of people thought they might, kind of take a little bit of a digression this year, losing, Matakevich and other guys. But, I mean, my God, they played just as good almost this year. Have to think Tulane's not going to really offer much of a offensive showing here. I would lay the number here with Temple. I'm not really interested in jumping in the way of them right now.
Yeah, look, the way they're playing and the way they're covering the number, like you alluded to, you'd be hard-pressed to kind of try and find a reason to bet Tulane here. The last, Tulane, they're on a 5-game skid here. The last 4 of which, defensively, though, is the issue for them. I mean, they're giving up 50 and 35, 37, and 30. And the way that Temple has kind of been clicking offensively, you have to think that they're going to be able to put up some numbers. Basically with Temple, and I haven't watched a ton of their games as of late, but it seems that whenever PJ, Phillip, whatever you want to call him, Walker, doesn't turn the ball over, they really kind of click offensively and can put up crooked numbers and lean on Jahad Thomas and take your shots downfield and that kind of stuff. So when Phillip Walker doesn't turn the ball over, this team's putting up 34, 46, those kind of crooked numbers. So he's been good lately. I would expect that to continue against a Tulane team that's just really struggled and seems to struggle year in and year out. So yeah, Jeff, and Buzz, I would definitely lay the number here. So that's where I would lean.
Yeah, I mean, this comes across to me as like a 37-13 type of game. I mean, Temple, just kind of wears you down. They can run the football. You mentioned PJ Walker. Again, that's most quarterbacks. If they don't turn the ball over, they win. But with him, it's evident. If he could just not fuck up, they roll normally.
Yep.
And they can lean on the run game as well. So, yeah, I'm not interested.
They're coming off a bye, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not interested in jumping in front of him right now. I mean, you look at Tulane. I mean, stepping up in conference. Lost by 12 to Houston. Again, keep in mind, Greg Ward didn't play in the second half in that game. UCF, they lost 37-6, 50-27 to Tulsa. They just, when they step up in class, they're getting blown out. And, for me, I see no reason to think that they won't be blown out in this one either. So, for you, Buzz, I definitely think Ryan and I both would agree wholeheartedly that Temple's playing this game. Next one. This is a good one, Ryan, out in the West Coast. Interested to hear what you think about it. I definitely have an opinion. Is it a play of the week? It was close to being one for me. I considered this game. San Diego State laying 10 against Wyoming, over under 58. Who would have thought, Ryan, that Wyoming would be the second best team in this conference in Week 12? If I told you that, what would you have told me earlier in the year?
Yeah, I probably would have said you're crazy. Definitely not a team that I had on my radar in this conference. I thought that this was, by and large, a two-team race with State and Boise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really did. I mean, this Craig Bowl coming over, I mean, we saw what he did at North Dakota State several years ago. But, this team last year, I mean, there were times where they were just getting crushed. I mean, I think they only ended up winning 2 games last year. Just a mess of a team. But, you got to give it to them. They've played really well. And, you look at the fact that they're leading the Mountain Division. One game, or actually they're tied with Boise State, so they kind of need to keep winning here. Definitely a big game in this conference. But people are betting San Diego State. Sharps have bet San Diego State. Line open 7.5. It's been bet up to 10. San Diego State, I mean, Ryan, it seems like every year they struggle out of conference. You lose a game to South Alabama or whoever, and then they get in the conference and just kind of roll teams. They've covered 16 of 21 in this conference. They're 5-1 against conference opponents this year against the spread. And, they're literally, Ryan, impossible to run the football against. They're second in the country in run defense, giving up just 86 yards per game. I mean, Alabama gives up less than them. That's the only team. So you have to figure Brian Hill for Wyoming will struggle to run the football. You also look at defensively, Ryan. Wyoming just gave up 69 points to UNLV. I mean, Let me say it again. They gave up 69 points to UNLV. I mean, they struggle defensively. They're not very good. They give up 34 points a game. I think this game's actually kind of a mismatch. I don't think Wyoming's a good matchup against San Diego State. I think San Diego State does everything defensively that Wyoming doesn't want to see. I think Donald Pumphrey is, I think, the most dominating player you're going to find. I mean, if you could find a guy that's dominated like he has, I'd like to know who it is. Maybe other than Lamar Jackson. But the kid's been absolutely fantastic, right? I mean, you listen to these numbers. I mean, Ryan, is there a guy that's done more for his team than this guy this year?
Yeah, I mean, the only guy that I can, and that's exactly what I would have said. The only guy that I can really think of would have been Lamar Jackson. Yeah, Donald Pumphrey has been fantastic. Someone we've known about for a few years now, mainly because of your kind of affiliation to the Aztecs. But yeah, he's a great player. To me, what makes him kind of make me go wow, and I've said it to you multiple times, is his stature. I mean, the guy's so small, yet he's so productive. I've never seen a guy that tiny not go down after 1-2 hits. I mean, it's remarkable. It really is.
5'9", 180.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
He's got 1,779 yards, 14 touchdowns. And what's crazy is Rashad Penny, his backup, has 9 touchdowns as well and averages 8 yards a carry. So, I mean, they're just really a two-headed monster. He's 346 yards shy of breaking Ron Dane's career rushing record. And he has 3 games to do it. So you have to figure he's going to do that.
Right.
I would lay the number here. I like San Diego State in this game. I think Wyoming's improved. I think, again, I like Brian Hill. Obviously, they're at home. But, Look, San Diego State's they played in elevation before. I mean, this conference is, you go to Colorado State, you go to Air Force, you go to Utah State, you go to, Wyoming. They know how to play in elevation. There's no secret to it. Wyoming sucks defensively, and I don't need Christian Chapman to be a stalwart, the quarterback for San Diego State. They play great defense. They stop the run, and they have Donald Pumphrey. I would lay the number here. I think this is honestly, I think it's like a 44 24 type of game. I think San Diego State rolls here. I think what they've done at conference has to be pointed out.
Yeah, I would slight lean to the Aztecs here. Not a game that I'm really really have any interest in at all, to be honest with you. A few things I will point out. One is the drastic difference that Wyoming does play at home versus on the road. But two, the big thing to me that I wonder is how motivated San Diego State will be, considering that they've already clinched the Pacific Division of the Mountain West, and they punched their ticket to the conference title game already. So I wonder how motivated they'll be. I know too, if they continue to win and things pan out, they could play in the Cotton Bowl. So maybe that's some motivation for them. But the fact that they've already clinched the spot in the conference championship game kind of worries me a little bit. But I think I would still lean San Diego State. They had a slip up once against South Alabama. I'd be hard pressed to see them do it again, especially after, like you said, Jeff, that Wyoming defense last week, 69 points. I mean, come on, that's awful.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make, though, about that's one thing you definitely got to look out for. Obviously, you get later in the year. What's the motivation for certain teams to win games? I mean, with conference tournaments, sometimes they're just kind of almost shoo-ins. For this one, that was one concern I had here as far as, kind of why I didn't make it a bigger play for myself. I like San Diego State. I think they have there's a big mismatch for them, but how dialed in will they be to win by double digits? I don't know. I think it's a bad matchup though for Wyoming, and you got to ask yourself. I mean, this conference isn't obviously that good. San Diego State, they've made it clear over year after year they're a team out west that's going to really play well. I'm just not sure Wyoming's ready to win this conference or do anything like that. I think San Diego State just is a bad matchup for them. So I would go with them here. We'll see how the line moves. Maybe get it down to a decent teaser play where all they have to do is.
I'm rooting for San Diego State because I want to see San Diego State versus Boise in the title game. So I really don't want to see San Diego State Wyoming again in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't either. I would like to see Boise. I mean, we that's what sucked about this conference last year. I mean, a lot of us thought Boise would win to get to the conference game against them, and they didn't end up getting there last year either. So, I kind of agree with you on that. We'll see. But as we were talking, Ryan, Houston scored again. How about that?
They did.
I do hasten this, though, to – I don't know if you remember this, Ryan. Several years ago, it was the roles were reversed. Florida State was down big at half against Louisville. Thursday night game, Jameis Winston, they came back and won the game. So, Houston needs to keep their foot on the metal here. So,
For sure.
Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about this one, Ryan. This would be a good one. Out in Morgantown, Dana Holgerson says this has the ability to be one of the best atmospheres of the year in college football. I'm talking about West Virginia, Oklahoma. Oklahoma laid 3.5, over under 66.5. So if you were San Diego State, would you lose on purpose so you don't have to play Boise? I don't think that's in anyone's mindset. I don't really think it matters. I mean, both teams.
I'll be honest. I don't think that us as fans, as bettors, we like to say that never.
Yeah, there's no team that loses on purpose.
That doesn't cross a coach's mind.
I think it's definitely possible, like in the NBA, where guys just don't give a shit certain nights, and but I don't think there's a collective effort to lose games outright. I don't think that's happening ever. Oklahoma laid 3.5, over under 66.5. West Virginia at 8-1, Oklahoma at 8-2, and Ryan, I'm interested to hear your opinion because I've been pretty high on West Virginia all year. They did have one loss, and it was probably their toughest opponent, Oklahoma State. They didn't come to play in that game. If West Virginia wins here and ends up winning out, do they deserve to be in the Final Four?
I'm still in kind of the mindset that I think the Big 12 is going to be an odd man out. I don't think they're going to get anyone in. You look, I mean, if they win out, their only signature win would be Saturday against Oklahoma. I mean, really, Baylor's tanked. They lost to Oklahoma State. Other than that, you can't find a signature win. So I would say no, Jeff.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That's why that big loss against Oklahoma State's looming so large. Oklahoma offense, I mean, we all know they're going to they're going to be there. They have some of the best skill players you're going to find. I mean, Mixon, P-Ryan, D.D. Westbrook, they're all going to play at the next level. Baker Mayfield, good college quarterback. We know he's going to make plays. Kind of a poor man's Johnny Manziel. But that defense, I mean, that's concerning. I mean, at this point, do we ever believe that this defense can get a stop? I mean, they're giving up 40 points a game on the road. And Ryan, I have kind of a concern with Charles Walker leaving the team to go get ready to become a professional. First of all, I've never seen that. That's pretty unbelievable to me. A guy just quits in the middle of the season. What does that say about this locker room? That's kind of a question. I heard it being talked about, and I wonder, why is he just leaving? I mean, is that just because...
That's one of the more selfish and kind of remarkable things I've ever heard. I saw that yesterday. I don't know when that got broke, but I first saw it yesterday, and I had to kind of do a double take. Like, I mean, that's pretty disgusting if you ask me. Another trick play from Houston. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's lost.
Wow. Yeah, and I love it personally. So,
wow.
That's beautiful. But now, to get back to your thing, that's
Ryan.
That is definitely interesting, though, to see.
Hey, Ryan.
What's up?
What did I say before the game?
Yeah, Louisville money line. No, absolutely.
I said Houston money line, didn't I?
Yeah, 100%. You did. Right.
Sean and I were talking about it before the game. He mentioned to me, he's like, I think Houston can win, and I was like, you know what? I mean, I kind of agreed. I was like, they're at home. It's like their Super Bowl. How about that? But yeah, I agree. The selfish kind of thing from Walker there. I mean, look, I guess, from a standpoint of devil's advocate, I mean, he doesn't want to get injured or anything, but come on. I mean, 2 games away. I got to be honest. I think there's something going on at Oklahoma. I'm not sure what it is. But
it's not like, it'd be one thing if Oklahoma had lost 2 out of 3 or lost 3 in a row, but they're playing some of the best football in the country right now. So it's so odd that he would leave now. Because albeit, in my opinion, if a Big 12 team's going to sneak in, I think it would be Oklahoma personally. That's just my opinion. But yeah, it's definitely odd regardless.
Yeah, I don't get it, but it's definitely he's their best player on defense. If they have one, it's him. Other than maybe one of their corners, but yeah, it's a big loss for them. West Virginia definitely has a pretty good run game. Russell Shell and they obviously Wendell Smallwood last year, so they definitely could churn out the running backs. Skylar Howard, I mean, he's a guy that's kind of, I don't know, they seem like they always have kind of a misunderstood quarterback. They kind of just do enough. I'm not in love with Skylar Howard, but he's good enough. The kid doesn't make a ton of mistakes. But will West Virginia play up in a big spot? That's kind of been their thing, especially this year. I mean, their one opponent that was kind of a step up, they could get the job done. They're at home here. You got to think that atmosphere is going to be crazy. As far as the weather's concerned, predicted Saturday night in Morgantown, rain and snow, 29 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds, accumulation of less than an inch. There's going to be a little snow. You got to think they're going to be rowdy and ready to go down there. Look, I like Oklahoma offensively, sure, but I just don't trust them on defense. I think West Virginia will do enough to win this game. I'll take the 3.5, but I think they win.
Yeah, this is an interesting.
Come on, Ryan, just say it. You like Oklahoma. I can tell.
I do. I like Oklahoma in this spot. I'm not. Look, you said it. You've been high on West Virginia all year, and rightfully so. That you keep riding with them. I hear you, especially at home here, grabbing more than a field goal. It definitely seems like a good spot. But West Virginia, to me, this is definitely one of those spots where they could open some people's eyes for sure. I look at them and look. I think Oklahoma's going to score some points, and I'm not so sure that West Virginia will be able to keep pace. Look, I know Oklahoma's defense has been pretty poor, but West Virginia, I mean, only scoring 24 against Texas, 34 against TCU, which I think they could have scored more. 26 against Missouri. Just to me, their offense, I don't think has taken as big a step forward as I thought maybe it would. Oklahoma, last time they were in Morgantown, Samaje Perine, he had an okay day. He ran for 242 yards and 4 touchdowns. So maybe they get back to kind of running
Yeah,
the
but
football a little bit.
Ryan, the one issue, I mean, you have to admit, I mean, West Virginia is the one team that plays defense. I mean, you go 17 to Texas Tech, 10 to TCU, 20 to Texas. I mean, defensively, they are good. I mean, has Oklahoma faced a defense like this quite yet?
Yeah, you probably would have to go back to
Ohio State.
Ohio State, I guess you would say. But yeah, look, this is a game that I'm really just kind of, it's just a coin flip game to me. But just for some reason my gut says Oklahoma. They're playing really, really good football right now, but I mean they haven't lost since that Ohio State game. So but that's the way I would lean, but not big on it. You seem to have a better grasp on this game than I do. You seem to really kind of like West Virginia, and rightfully so. Like I said, home underdog. It's going to be electric down there in Morgantown. It's really going to be electric. I mean, the Herb Street and Fowler crew's going to be there and calling the game, so it should be exciting. It should definitely be exciting.
Yeah, not sure how this game didn't get game day. I guess they decided they wanted to go see possibly the worst team in the country play. Western Michigan. I don't really get that at all, but I don't understand at all why like they're incorporating like this small school thing. I mean, since when does the NCAA not care about money? I mean, just when did that happen?
Yeah, I guess they're just doing it for West. They don't really care who West Virginia or Western Michigan's playing. They're just doing it for them to go there. And
but since when did they not care about money? I mean, it's all about money. I mean, what's going to make more money, that game or you know? I don't know.
I hear you.
Maybe also because, West Virginia doesn't usually play on their networks. I mean, they're usually on Big 12's usually on Fox. I don't know, but I guess we'll see. So I'm going to go in Oklahoma. I think, or West Virginia. I'm sorry. I think I've a little bit better feel in the game, but it's going to be a tough one. I think if you take West Virginia, you probably just want to take them on the money line. Let's Ryan jump into some play of the days here, then kind of just wrap everything up here. We do have 4 games to go through. So I'm going to start out, Ryan. I'm going to go 3:30 Eastern on Saturday. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh and Duke over 63. This one's kind of, I think, a little bit of a low total. I mean, Pittsburgh, 9-1 to the over this year. I mean, they're one of the better over teams you're going to find. And as far as overs are concerned, they're going over by a lot. I mean, they're going over by 10, 20 points every game. 2 of the last 3 in this series have gone over, and Duke's playing well. I mean, they're off a nice win against North Carolina. Their defense has kind of struggled all year, but they're a team that's going to put up 24 to 30 points each game and kind of get up 30. That's kind of what they do. Their quarterback Daniel Jones has actually started to play well and run this offense. Pittsburgh, though, right, very efficient on offense. They score touchdowns. They don't score 3 points. In the red zone this year, Pittsburgh, 43 attempts in the red zone, 34 touchdowns in those 43 appearances. So, I mean, they're scoring a lot of touchdowns. They're scoring 7. Pittsburgh's second worst pass defense in the country, giving up 343 yards a game. In that loss, Ryan, to Clemson, they gave up 580 passing yards. I mean, and they still won the game somehow.
Deshaun Watson threw the ball, I think, into the 70-some times.
70 times, yes. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. They still lost. So you got to figure David Cutcliffe's smart enough. Throw on this defense. They can't stop anybody. The question, though, side-wise is what Duke team will show up? I mean, is it the team that beat Notre Dame and almost beat Louisville, or is it the team that lost to Virginia and Wake Forest? I mean, that's kind of your question here. I'm going to just throw that out the window and go over the total. I mean, Pittsburgh's just been an over machine, and lately Duke has really improved on offense. So I think this is like a 38-31 type of game, and I'm going to go over 63 in this one. Any thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, 2 teams coming off emotional and pretty sizable wins. Obviously, Pitt knocking off Clemson on the road, and Duke knocking off North Carolina at home last week. So it'll be interesting to see. You have to expect both teams to really be kind of fired up coming into this game. Look, overs. I wasn't sure where you're going to go with this one. I was hoping you were going to go over because overs, like you said, have been a cash cow for Pittsburgh. I mean, they just really have, and they defensively haven't been as good as I thought they could have been this year. Through the air, they're just lost. I mean, partially, I put some of that on coaching, but just their cornerbacks don't play the ball particularly well in the air in those kind of one-on-one matchups. So, Duke really needs to kind of come out and attack them. So, I think it's pretty cut and dry. That's the way I would lean. I wouldn't really have a side in this game. Pitt laying more than a touchdown, the way they can't really stop anyone, I don't feel comfortable laying that. So, I think over is definitely worth a good look here. Let's just hope that, Duke, comes out and realizes that, look what Clemson did, albeit in a loss, but look at the success they had through the air, and look at the success other teams, for that matter, have had through the air. Let's come out and let's throw the football, and let's establish something and get after them, and let's take some shots. That's another thing you want to do against Pitt. Take some shots downfield. So, I like your overplay, Jeff. I definitely think that's the right side for sure.
I do have to say, I think Duke's the play in this game sidewise. I mean, you have to figure letdowns coming from Pittsburgh. Defensively, like we've talked about, they're lost. I like what Duke has done lately on offense. I mean, but you look at Pittsburgh. I mean, 43-42, 51-28, 39-36, 45-31, 37-34. I mean, every game they played this year, with the exception of Villanova, it was 28-7. Every game has gotten into the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. I think you got to keep going over here. It could be a wild one, but I think you might want to take a shot maybe with Duke here. They might get the job done. May even win the game. I could see that. Right, by the way, real quick, I mean, is it really necessary that Joe Lunardi put out a bracketology already? Like,
are you serious?
Is that necessary, really? Like,
it's, what is it, November 17th?
Yeah. He actually put out one on November 3rd as well.
That's pretty remarkable. I was not aware.
He already has his last four in. His last four in is out already.
Wow. Good for him.
I mean, talk about, kind of overdoing it a little bit.
Agreed.
I mean, my God. Ryan, let's go to your first game. LSU, Florida. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, look, SEC games, you and I talk about it from time to time.
Yeah, I hate the SEC. I hate it.
We're not fans of SEC games or not fans of SEC, but betting on SEC.
No, I'll admit it, Ryan. I hate it. I hate the SEC.
Yeah, we just don't really have I don't know. I don't want to say a strong gauge for it, but it's difficult. It is difficult to bet on the SEC, in my opinion, in our opinion. But for me, LSU, they're favored by 14 and a half, depending on where you look here. I'm actually gonna lay the number here. Florida comes into this game really banged up to me, and that's the thing that I look at, and I see that they have to go on the road to Death Valley, really just dinged up, banged up, not 100%. Possibly seven starters are going to miss this game against an LSU team who, to me, which I don't think has been really talked about enough, is their defense. This defense, Jeff, is only giving up 13 points per game. This defense only gave up 10 points to Alabama, who had been scoring into the 40s seamlessly every week. I don't think Florida is capable of going into LSU and putting up 20, 30 points. I don't think, and I think LSU will be able to score offensively. Florida's defense has been good, don't get me wrong, but we've talked about since Coach O took over, scoring 45, 38, 38, and then, got shut out against Alabama, but, that's Alabama. I like LSU in this spot. I do. I'm not a big Florida guy, not a big Florida supporter. Year after year, it's kind of the same story with them. They have a good defense. They always have a top 10 defense, top 20 defense, but offensively they're challenged. I mean, some of their games, it's just it's pathetic. I mean, you're scoring, 13, 24, 10, 20. I mean, it's just not good. And against one of the better defenses in the country that's kind of flown under the radar in LSU, I think they're going to get stifled. I think LSU wins this one and wins this one pretty handily. No ATS trends, no really getting cute or anything. Just I think LSU, the better football team, the football team that's at home, and the football team with a better defense and a better spot. I like LSU here. Florida just doesn't do anything for me.
And now, I mean, you got to look at Austin Appleby over Luke Del Rio. I have some ATS trends for you, Ryan. Florida 0-3 on the road against the spread this year.
Yeah, there you go.
LSU's covered 13 of 20. LSU's covered 13 of 20 at home. I mean, yeah, I hear you. I agree with you here. I think
Gators could be without 3 starters on the offensive line. I mean, barring some sort of like punt return, kick return. I mean, I don't know how this team is going to score 14 points.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it, but ever since Ed Orgeron's come in, they have one loss to Alabama, but every other game has been a blowout. You look at Florida. I mean, they looked lost against Arkansas. They at Vandy, they didn't play particularly well. They only won by 7 and gave up. They only scored 13 points a game. Lost at Tennessee by 10. They blew a big lead there. Look, LSU, again, I mean, I know they had to slip up at Alabama, but, yeah, I think this is good play, Ryan. I think this is like I could see this being, 31-10, something like that. I think they roll in this one. I like
Last thing I'll say about this, Florida has the number 2 ranked rush defense in the SEC. However, their top 3 tacklers, none of them will play on Saturday. So just more injury concerns. So, yeah, let's go Tigers.
Ryan, Laura Rutledge, the very attractive sideline reporter, reporting that Lamar Jackson is breaking up fights on the sidelines.
Wow.
So Bobby Petrino needs to get his team going here in this one because, look, it would be obviously a tremendous collapse, but this is getting ugly here down in Houston. Ryan, my second play of the week, I'm going to lay the number with Western Michigan, minus 34.5 against Buffalo. I'm going to go to College Game Day in Kalamazoo. How about that? You look at Buffalo, Ryan. I mean, let's break down how bad they are. 2-8 on the year. Right, this is astounding to me. Buffalo, 0-4 on the road this year, ATS. They're scoring 8.5 points a game on the road.
Wow. Jeez.
And in those 4 games, they've scored 34 points combined. So now you got to go on the road and face the second to last undefeated team in the country. So, by the way, Ryan, it gets worse. Buffalo's quarterback, Tyree Jackson's probably not going to play in this game with a leg injury. So it's bad news for Buffalo. And in those road games that they're scoring 8 points a game, they're giving up 38 points a game. So, I think it's going to be a troublesome game for Buffalo. Buffalo's backup, Grant Rochak, Ryan, 51% completion percentage, 2 interceptions, and 54 yards in 5 appearances this year. So, I think it's going to be 7 points or less for Buffalo in this one. Last thing I want to point out, 2 things with Western Michigan. Zach Terrell, Ryan, 70% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The Western Michigan Broncos have 4 total turnovers all year. Is that not? That's pretty incredible.
That's probably the best stat we'll hear tonight. 4 turnovers all year. I mean, no wonder they're undefeated.
And listen to this turnover margin. Plus 15 for Western, minus 6 for Buffalo. So, this one's going to get pretty ugly. And when you're laying a big number, it's all about obviously motivation and, kind of are they going to have the, fortitude to cover. First of all, they have P.J. Fleck, and I'm not sure if anyone has watched some of the interviews with him, but he's a nutcase. I mean, he doesn't allow his team not to be prepared. And even in the last game they played for Western Michigan, they beat Kent State on election night by 16. But, Ryan, you remember that game? They didn't play particularly well in it, and they still won by 16.
Right.
They've battered opponents this year. 49-10, 41-0, 52-20, 37-21. Now they're playing Buffalo, who you could argue is the worst team in the country, or top 5 worst teams in the country. This one to me is like a 49-7 type of game. I'll lay the big number. I think Western puts on a show, in front of the kind of the influx of fans from game day.
Yeah, I think if game day wasn't there, this could possibly be a letdown spot with Toledo on deck. So, but the fact that that fan base and that college town in Kalamazoo should be rocking from sun up to sundown, you would expect, because of game day being there, I think really adds some extra flair and has, looking at the polls on Tuesday night, Boise is ranked ahead of Western Michigan. So I'm sure they saw that, they realized that they say, hey, let's continue to show that we deserve to be ahead of them and get a New Year's Day bowl. So yeah, I think they show off a little bit against just a very poor Buffalo team. Yeah, I would go with the I would go with the Broncos for sure.
And Ron, we watched that Buffalo team against Boston College.
Yes. Yep.
35-3 they lost. So, it's only going to get tougher. So my other game, I'm going to lay the 34.5 with Western Michigan. Ryan, your other game, and actually I'm interested to hear about what you think of this one. Colorado laying 4.5 at Washington State. What do you like here?
Love Colorado. Love them. I love Colorado in this spot. Washington State, it's funny, both these teams, it's not real important to Washington State, and it means everything to Colorado. Colorado's at home. Colorado has the better defense. To me, that's something that, obviously, watching Colorado early in the year test Michigan in the first half and really kind of open people's eyes, and kind of what they've done lately defensively, or all year for that matter, defensively, really kind of is astounding to me. I mean, this team is really, really good defensively, and I think at home with a lot to play for, I like Colorado here. I like the spot. It's both of my games are. I just feel I'm going to take the better team at home, and in this case, I think it's going to be the more motivated team. We were kind of talking briefly before we got kicked off the show, talking about Washington State. Washington State's their season comes down to 2 weeks from this weekend against Washington. So, and Colorado, they have a lot to play for going forward with Washington State, and obviously they close against Utah, both games being at home. And if Colorado can win both of them and then win the Pac-12 title, however things play out with teams losing and Louisville looks like they're going to fall, and Michigan could slip out. I mean, who knows what could happen with Colorado? So this is a huge game. That place in Boulder should be rocking. I like the Buffs here. I do.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, like I said, this game doesn't mean absolutely anything really to Washington State. I mean, like you said, the game next week is the big one, and they very well could face Colorado again here a little bit later. Yeah. But I think if you like Washington State, which look, I think in any game you have to consider them. I mean, they've covered 12 of 18 as an underdog, but Colorado tied with Temple for the
they've been fantastic.
Yeah, 9-1 and. At home, they've been unbelievable. 41 points a game, giving up just 9.5 points a game.
Yeah.
I will point out, I've heard a lot of people kind of saying that, the season's lost because River Craycraft's gone for Washington State. Is anyone aware that Washington State has 7 guys, other than River Craycraft, that have at least 20 catches? And they have 4 with at least 40 catches. So, look, clearly River Craycraft, second in that school's history in catches, but number 1's Gabe Marks, and he's just going to have a bigger workload. So, it's definitely a loss, but they have plenty of guys that can toll the load. I think if you like Washington State, just because how well they're playing, maybe take a shot on the money line. But, for me, maybe under. Good point, Sean. But, yeah, Ryan, I think you have the right side here. Colorado, obviously, wants this game a little bit more than I think Washington State will. Look, Sean was talking earlier, Ryan, about teams that will lose on purpose. I could see Mike Leach saying, listen, we don't give a shit about this game. This one's, fuck it.
Let's get out of here with no injuries. And, nothing stupid, right?
For sure. There we go. Ryan likes Colorado minus the 4.5, and Florida, or LSU minus 14.5 against Florida. I like Western Michigan minus 34.5, and I like over 63, Pittsburgh and Duke. Ryan, a couple other things here before we go. Before we do go, I don't know if you saw, Ryan, did you see this news about Chad Kelly?
Which one? He seems to be in the news weekly.
Well, he is having a rough year. He's been curb stomped several times by porn star Mia Khalifa. You've seen that. He was involved with a fight in a high school game. Now he's been pictured in a Snapchat photo rolling a blunt. Basically, you can see him sitting there rolling a blunt, and the little caption says, "Blunts with Chad Kelly." Again, the marijuana thing, he's in college, who cares? But, I mean, these kids never cease to amaze me with, just kind of dumb involvement. I mean, and look, Hugh Freeze, I mean, this is another player of high stature from Ole Miss that's involved with drugs in some aspect. Again, I know it's marijuana and who really cares, but, it just continues to show stupidity here if you're Chad Kelly.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Jeff, actually, about Hugh Freeze. I think Hugh Freeze is a dope, personally. I think he's not one of my favorite head coaches in college football, to be honest with you. I think he's a little overrated. And you make a great point talking about some of the guys that have gotten in trouble with him, Kendichi being one, Chad Kelly being another now.
What about Tunsil?
Yeah, Tunsil. Exactly. There's another one. Look, and to me, I have a very kind of positive stance when it comes to marijuana. I think it's laughable anymore. It's 2016. It's going to be legal in our lifetime. So it is what it is. But in technology nowadays, Kelly needs to be smarter, really. But it is what it is. He probably figures out, what the hell, I'm not playing the rest of the year. Who gives a shit? I can tell you, as a 19, 20-year-old kid, however old he is, I'm sure that's his mindset. I'm not playing the rest of the year. What the hell do I have to lose? So. Yeah,
again, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal at all, really. I think it's kind of a shitty thing to do if, suppose you're supposed to be a friend of this guy, and you're sharing this kind of thing. But Chad Kelly, again, I've been a fan of his. I think everything he's done as far as, look, if my brother was getting beat up in a game, I would go after him too, no matter who I was. As far as marijuana, I don't really care. And look, I'm not going to lie. If I was Chad Kelly, I would try to have sex with Mia Khalifa also. So I don't really see a big problem with anything he's done. I've talked about marijuana and drugs and that kind of thing, like with Josh Gordon and him being a repeat offender. And it's like, dude, come on. But, I think this is a little ridiculous that this stuff keeps getting publicity. Ryan, a couple other games here, just kind of quickly, rapid fire. Washington, will they bounce back? Laying a big number at home against Arizona State. Do they have the willpower to cover 27 here? They should, but
I think so. Look, they ran into just one of the hottest teams in the country in USC, and USC is clicking on all cylinders. Arizona State, just not a good football team at 5-5, not very good defensively. Washington is at home again. Look, they've showed that they can kill teams. That's not an issue. So, I think that's definitely a possibility for sure.
Baylor, a home underdog to Kansas State, getting 1.5, 59.5 on a total. Is Baylor back on right now? I don't think they are. Obviously, Seth Russell out. The issues they have there now. You wouldn't think you'd see Baylor and a dog at home, but this just seems like a coaching mismatch here, if you ask me.
Yeah, I want nothing to do Baylor right now. Absolutely nothing to do with the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near them either. I think Bill Snyder just has them prepared here. Kansas State kind of just adds insult to injury for the Jim Grobe and Baylor. Jim Grobe's gone. Good luck. Go coach Coastal Carolina or something. They can take a handful of pain pills but can't smoke weed. Yeah, agreed. I also think it's kind of ridiculous that you have to get everything approved. It's like, I mean, again, there has to be some sort of, checks and balance system, but you can't take fucking, Tylenol. I mean, come on. What else do we have here, Ryan? Michigan laying 24 against Indiana. Ryan, I know Michigan's your squad and everything, but I don't know that I understand this number, really. I mean...
Yeah, I personally don't. Look, Michigan, if you look at the numbers, too, they've been clicking on overs the last, I think they've hit something like 19 out of the last 22 or 23 overs dating back to years past. I think this is an under spot here. It's obviously Harbaugh and that team wants to keep under wraps and say, oh, Wilton Spade's a game time decision. Look, I follow a lot of sites from Michigan, and from what I'm hearing is he's not going to play, obviously, and that goes to with what people are saying in the national. Well, he's not going to play this week. There's an outside chance he could be back for Ohio State, so I'm just going to throw that out there. But as far as this game, O'Korn's going to come in and play. I expect O'Korn to actually play well, but the one thing that I want to throw out with this game is Indiana defensively has – you want to talk about units that have kind of done a big kind of step up. The Indiana defense this year has really took a big step forward, and I think that they'll play well. And offensively, I think they'll struggle against Michigan. But I would look under in this spot, 51. I would look under.
Yeah, Michigan. I'm just not ready to really. I'm not ready to lay. I'm not saying I'm not ready, but I don't really want to lay this number right now, just because. What are you getting from John O'Korn? But yeah, I don't know. I definitely like what I've seen out of Indiana somewhat on defense, and their quarterback Richard Legault, I think he's will do enough to keep them involved. But
if they don't turn the ball over 5-6 times, whatever it was last week, they probably beat Penn State.
Right.
So
yeah, you gotta. If you had if you had Indiana last week, that's
bad beat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible beat. But as far as any others, I mean, not a particularly great card. You got a lot of patsies this week. I mean, North Carolina's playing. Interesting, Ryan, the line in that one. I'll be interested to see what the line is. The Citadel, for just saying, they're 10-0, Ryan, the Citadel.
Okay.
They're playing North Carolina.
Yep.
You never know. They almost beat South Carolina a year or two ago. Just saying. Kentucky playing Austin Peay. Chattanooga playing Alabama. What's that score going to be?
Yeah, this is the week. It's always the second to last week where the SEC teams, a lot of the SEC teams play kind of patsies.
Blowout of the week, Auburn. They roll Alabama A&M.
All right. I could see coming off a loss, so.
And it's Alabama A&M who's,
right.
in the SWAC, and we all know the SWAC is just a terrible sports leagues. By the way, another big line. It's going to be a big line, but I would lay it. Army laying a big number to Morgan State. Morgan State, Ryan, is – I've actually bet against them this year. They actually lost by 55 against Marshall. So Army should absolutely hammer Morgan State. Ryan, any other games you're looking at?
Obviously, I love the Big Ten. I would grab the points with Michigan State at home against Ohio State. I know a lot of people probably would say Michigan State's in a free fall right now, and Ohio State is kind of clicking on all cylinders now after a few hiccups. But I would grab those points at home with Michigan State. They're going to be really hyped for this game, obviously, for a chance to kind of play spoiler. So that's kind of one that I've looked at. Another one I told you and Donnie last week that I like Notre Dame against Army at home. I like Notre Dame again this week against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a team that I'm really not they're just kind of average to me. I know they're 7-3, but they seem to just be average in my eyes. Lost to Tennessee. They're coming off a loss against Georgia Tech. I know a lot of people say, well, they're coming off a loss, so they should be refocused, and they're not going to lose 2 in a row. Look, I think Notre Dame, ever since they fired and changed defensive coordinators, they've been better. They've been better. They're not giving up the 48s, the 38 spots. They've been better. So I have a slight lean to Notre Dame in that game as well. So those are 2 kind of games that I've seen. 2 other games that I've kind of taken a look at. So.
Yeah, one other one. Sean's asking about Georgia Southern, Georgia State. This is a weird game because Georgia Southern is 4-6, and they have 2 games, and they have to win both to get into the bowls. And this team, Ryan, I mean, they've won 4 games this year. Savannah State, South Alabama, UL Monroe, and New Mexico State. That's their 4 wins this year. They got to beat Georgia State and Troy. Again, Troy, that game might not mean a whole lot at the end of the year. Georgia Southern really needs to win. Actually, it's a must-win. They have to win this game. But I'm not looking to run to the window and back them, really. I mean, they've looked very average in a lot of games this year. Defensively, they've given up 33 or more in the last 3 games in each of them. They're off a loss to UL Lafayette at home. I'm not running to the window to bet Georgia Southern, but I think
most importantly, too, they've looked kind of shaky on the road, and they've played a lot of games on the road. You got to think coming into this game, they've only had I think 4 games at home. So
yeah,
a lot of road games, and they've struggled on the road.
Yeah, and they're playing a Georgia State team though that they should beat. I mean, Georgia State just lost to Louisiana Monroe, which Monroe's without their quarterback and one of the worst defenses in the league, or in the country, I'm sorry. I would look Georgia Southern here, but I'm not sure how you bet them right now. I really don't. It's kind of a shame because I've always been very high on Georgia Southern. But yeah, Ryan, look, great stuff, man. As always appreciate chatting with you, and looking forward to getting you back here, man. We'll go Sunday morning with NFL Week 11. We didn't do a show last week, and the Eagles quickly. What kind of team is this team? I mean, really?
Well, it's an inconsistent team.
Right.
That's kind of the thing I've talked about the last couple weeks is if they could just be consistent. I mean, this team could possibly have kind of made some noise and may only be sitting there with 2, maybe 3 losses. But
how sickening is it that the Dallas Cowboys are possibly the best team in the league? I mean,
well, record-wise, they are, and it is pretty sickening. But you just kind of have to, I guess, tip your hat and kind of just move on. And because I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders right now, and I don't want to take anything away from them because look, they've played well. They have, and that's kind of evident. But they have been pretty fortunate this year. I talked about in the Eagles game where Dak has 2 interceptions that are dropped by Leotis McKelvin. You look at Sunday's game against Pittsburgh. If Mike Tomlin's not a jackass and just kicks extra points, they probably win that game. So they've been pretty fortuitous in some instances. But hey, when things are going your way, they're going their way. So we'll kind of see what happens going forward.
Ryan, real quick, you would agree that they're not the best team in the NFL, right? I mean, you don't think that, right?
No, I think.
I mean, they're not better than New England. They're not better than.
I think the 2 teams we saw on Sunday night are better than the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys are probably like 3, if not 3 in some people's eyes, then definitely 4. But I right now I would take Seattle and New England over.
I agree 100%. I think Seattle is a team that you never really can say like, wow, they're the best, but because they look so pedestrian at times on offense. But that defense is really good. I mean, we all know that. Second in the league in points against.
How are the Eagles going to score 10 points this weekend?
Yeah.
The Eagles are going to have to throw to like their running backs and their tight ends and Jordan Matthews. That's a gig. Because if you can get a player prop on like receptions for like Nelson Aguilar or Green Beckham or someone like that, or hell, even Jordan Matthews for that matter, take the under. I mean, really, how their wide receivers are gonna do anything Sunday is beyond me. I've been thinking about that for the last 5 days, and I still don't have an answer.
I really have a good. I actually have 2 games that points in this game that I'm really eager to get to. I have two plays that I'm very high on as far as this is concerned. Ryan, quickly, one other thing. We haven't really been on the air. College basketball. We're about a week in. Obviously, we mentioned Joe Lunardi has his bracketology out already. Obviously, we see Duke go down the other night. You have Oregon lose the other day to Baylor and scored 49 points in that game. Obviously, Dylan Brooks being out hurts them early on here.
Wisconsin loses too last night.
They did. Good point. You also had Xavier. They almost lose today. But Oregon quickly, they're in a dogfight tonight with Valpo. And I've seen Valpo play this year. I'm not as high on them this year as we were last year. I'm not sure they're going to be as good. I think Oakland's better than they are. But Oregon, obviously they're going to have to kind of toe the line until Dylan Brooks gets back. But they're really – I thought they'd be a little bit more dimensional without him. And early on, they haven't really looked that way.
No, not at all. And, there's definitely been some interesting matchups and results. I thought a few of those marquee games were fantastic this week. ESPN really giving us some fantastic basketball to start out the year. The one team to me, though, that really kind of has jumped out is Kentucky. I know that's kind of easy to say, but what I've seen from Kentucky is pretty. They're like a drum. It just keeps beating. But the players and the talent that Calipari is able to get year after year is fantastic and phenomenal. And they were really fun to watch the other night. Nova keeps churning. They get a big win at Purdue. So college, in my opinion, college basketball, which obviously is flying under the radar a little bit to some people with college football going on, college basketball I think is off to a pretty fun and a pretty interesting start. Yeah,
Duke's obviously got to get healthy. They got a lot of their young kids out. Yeah. Villanova, look, their guards are fantastic. Their wings are great, but when they face a team, you saw the other night. Isaac Haas did anything he wanted down low. But yeah, Kansas, obviously they beat Duke. That's a great win. What's going to happen?
Indiana looks good too, Joe.
Yeah, no, great point. Indiana and Wisconsin going to battle in that conference. Purdue as well. And then you have obviously, your Gonzagas. And I'm going to tell you a team to look out for, Ryan. I think they're going to get it going this year. If they could just, I know early on they haven't played anybody, but I'm pretty high on UCLA this year. I don't know why. I like, obviously I think they bring back a lot. They bring back, Bryce Alford, Isaac Hamilton, and Thomas Welsh. But, I don't know. I just think last year they were kind of a mirage on defense. I think they play better on that end. And you look at what they've done early on, Ryan, 119 points and 102 points. Now, granted, they were playing Pacific and Cal Northridge, but, they're going to get a test coming up with Kentucky and Long Beach. Two other things, Ryan. How about UConn? They lose lose 2 games. How does that happen? You lose I'm trying to remember who they lost to. It's pretty unbelievable. Let me pull that up. There's so many teams that play. Oh, yeah, Northeastern and Wagner.
Yes, Wagner, Northeastern.
Tonight, though, they go on the road and play Loyola Marymount. You have to feel they will win this game.
You would expect them to.
You would think, really. Right? Georgetown loses tonight as 23.5-point underdogs or favorites to Arkansas State. So how about that? A little Sunbelt action. Georgetown and UConn just junk. And Temple lost to New Hampshire.
Yeah, a lot of head scratchers to start the year, that's for sure.
Wow, how about that? Ryan, great stuff, man, as always. Always fun talking to you. Make sure you come home Saturday so we can watch the games. Don't come home too late, man.
Gotcha. Yep, for sure, man. I will talk to you soon. Always fun to hop on the show, and even when I'm not there, we can still do it over Skype and whatnot. So yeah, good stuff, and I'll talk to you soon, and hopefully everyone has a good weekend out there.
All right, Ryan. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you.
Yeah.
That was Ryan, my co-host, joining me live. Always a great show when he joins us. He gave out 2 great plays, too. He likes LSU minus the 14.5 against Florida, and Colorado minus 4.5 against Washington State. I like Western Michigan minus 34.5. And Pittsburgh and Duke over 63. Everyone have a great night. As always, follow me on Twitter at Jeff Nadu. You can also find me, guys, at C2CSportsFirm.com. The show is sponsored by C2CSportsFirm.com. We got a lot of good things going on over there. I've taken a day or two to kind of refocus and get ready for this week in college football. But Sean Harnish, as always, doing some big things. He's got a big card this week coming up. Please come over and take a look at what we're doing. A lot of good stuff there. Feel free. We'll give you a couple free plays. Obviously, we do plenty of Periscopes and Spreaker shows. We just try to get out a lot of information, a lot of good breakdowns, and that sort of thing. So everyone have a great night. Like I said, go over there and see what we're doing. If you're interested in a weekend or something, we'll try to work with you on that. Our marketing guy doing some good things as well. So, come take a look at what we're doing over there at CCSportsroom.com. Everyone have a great night. We'll be back Sunday, 11 o'clock Eastern, with our NFL podcast. We'll break down Week 11 with the big boys in the National Football League and break down everything else going on in the world of sports Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern. Everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next time on the Big Meadow Campus. Bye-bye.